Alright, hello. Welcome to Tim's Inner Monologues, number 25, Marriage and Why It's So Important. Now, I must stress, if you can hear the fan in the background, I apologize. I'm actually going to turn that down. It is currently 28 degrees, but it was 34, and it feels about 40 degrees in London. So, I apologize if you can hear the fan. Anyway. I also must stress that I am not married. So again, I'm taking this view as an outsider who hasn't been married, but I have spent my time with people who are married, people who have a very happy relationship, and the unfortunate sad times of, when people don't get into, when people get divorced or they end up lonely for the rest of their lives. Let's just say, the coach never plays. Let's just leave it like that. Anyway, so let's begin. This is going to be Tim's Inner Monologue, number 25, Marriage and Why It's So Important. So, I guess the first point I have is its importance. Why is marriage so important? Why is it that since the dawn of time, a man and a woman have come together and become married? Why is it that the man would take the daughter away from the family and from the father to consummate the marriage, to have children, and raise the next generation? Why has that been a thing since the dawn of time? And why is it that we have such a rejection of it today? So, I must preface that this rejection of marriage has only come within the last, I would say, about 50 or so years. I would say around the sexual revolution of the 1960s and 70s, but very much heavily since the 2000s. Feel that more and more people nowadays are rejecting marriage, especially with the statistic that I think by 2030, 50% of all women in America will be single and lonely. So that's quite a sad statistic. Sorry if I a bit of an illness, but anyway, of course it's a sad statistic. Can't speak there. But again, it sort of highlights the culture shift that we have today. So, why is marriage important? Well, it comes down to the promise, or in the Bible, God created woman from man with a missing rib. That's why we have one less rib than women do. And God called us to get married and to have children, like He says in I believe it's in Genesis. It is both sort of man's habit, or not, man's duty, to break away from his family and to come to the woman and become one body and to become married. So this idea of marriage is very, very, very important. Now, back in the old times, marriage was for many, many reasons. It could be to strengthen family bonds, it could be to sell business deals, it could be for land. But if we look at marriage out of the love, so for example, two people finding each other and falling in love and going for the vocation of marriage, why is that? Why do two people fall in love, get married, and have children? Well, it's a natural thing to have. If you look at all of animals, they all want a partner in life because our biological need is to reproduce, to have children, to carry our DNA and heritage, right? If nobody reproduced, then your heritage and lineage would die out, and you would be considered a biological failure. It's, for example, with penguins. Penguins are a great example of this. If they fail to mate with other penguins, they will try to steal. These are female penguins. Try to steal other eggs to be seen like, look, I have a kid. It's to try and continue that this lineage of children, lineage of offspring for the next generations. It's why I'm here today, because I've had my generation, my father and mother, their father and mother, their father and mother, and so on, creating children until I'm here today in 2025, which I'm obviously forever blessed for. Fun fact, statistically, there was a 1 in a trillion chance of you being born the way you are now. So take yourself for granted that you've won the lottery, or the ultimate lottery. Anyway, why marriage is so important? It brings both man and woman By the way, I must stress, men and women cannot get married. That it is an abomination. It is not real marriage. But anyway, man and woman come together to get married, to live under the same house, and to have children. Now, marriage is this sort of contract, both agreeing for the man and the woman that I will love you forever, and I will not depart from you. And in the same way, the man and the woman promise the same thing, until death do us apart. Like you go in the marriage vows, I'll love you until sickness and in health, and I'll love you until death does us part. It's this promise between the couple, this security that I will never leave you and I will always love you until the day I die. Now, of course, you might sit there and go, well, it's very difficult to love someone forever. And that's the thing. Marriage is a difficult thing. It's difficult to love people when they hurt you. It's difficult to, maybe be in the same house with someone you may not agree on. And maybe they really, really do hurt you. Maybe they said something offensive. Maybe they disrespected you in a way. Maybe they did something absolutely abhorrent you couldn't believe. But with marriage, you are called to love them like Christ loves us unconditionally. Now, you might sit there and go, well, what? You've said that obviously it's a contract and it is a calling from God. Why is it? What is this importance? Well, the harsh reality is that many people are upset and saddened with the fact that we don't have, we sort of neglect this biological need. Ever since we're children, we're always wanting somebody in our lives. And this sort of rejection that we don't want to get married, we don't want to have children, it deeply hurts us inside that we are not fulfilling our biological and primary thing. To get married, to have children, and to reproduce. Now, you might sit there and go, well, oh, Tim, you're a bit of an idiot. You don't see animals and cats getting married, so why do we need to get married? Firstly, we're not animals, or cats, or dogs, or penguins, or elephants. We're far more sophisticated. Like I said, the reason why... Oh, my minute one, let's go. The reason why marriage is so important, it is that level of security that I will never leave you and you will never leave me. It is the promise that God brings two people into one body, and whatever God makes, it can never be broken away. So this idea of divorce doesn't exist. People say, oh yeah, I got divorced and he's no longer my husband. No, it's far from the case. And the Catholic Church really, really, teaches this very, very well. Now, the vocation and calling from God, a lot of people nowadays are called to get married. But we sort of have this society, this sort of rejection that, oh, you shouldn't be getting married. It's a stupid thing. It's just a piece of paper. And to be honest, when I was younger, I believed that. Now, why is marriage a vocation and why is it so difficult? Well, like I mentioned, you're supposed to love somebody forever. It doesn't matter what happens in life. It doesn't matter if you grow old. Doesn't matter if she dies or he dies. Doesn't matter if they hurt you. Doesn't matter if you get into arguments. You are called to love them and to bring them towards sainthood. The father's role and the husband's role in a marriage is to bring the family to sainthood and to bring them to heaven. and that's what it is. Marriage is vocation, and it's a very difficult one because, especially for me, I've lived my life alone for my whole entire life. I've never slept in the same bed with anyone. I've never been sharing places with anyone, and then all of a sudden I'm gonna have a wife that's gonna be with me 24/7. I can't run away from my problems. I can't go, I don't want to see you today, because she's going to be there forever. It's like, for example, my social battery dies. I go, baby, I don't want to see you, I don't want to see you for a day. I need to recharge my social battery. It just doesn't exist. She's there forever. And that's why marriage is so important. You're called to do something that you yourself aren't exactly always comfortable with. You're not always used to it. You might go, well, I want my personal space. There's going to be somebody always there. Your bed will never be alone again. The kitchen will always be with somebody. And that's what this important vocation is. Now, you might ask, well, how do I discern about marriage? How do I discern if marriage is the right thing for me? Because, especially with Catholics or Orthodoxes, a lot of the times we sort of struggle between getting either married or going into the priestly vocation. And for women, it's becoming a sister and a nun. Now, again, I probably am not the most qualified to answer this question, but I remember hearing this advice from someone, from a priest, saying, well, it was from my girlfriend, she basically said that for a priest, and the priest went, where you find the most peace is where God wants you to be. And I thought about that for a long time, thinking if I could become a priest, if I could become, if I could pray 7 or 8 hours a day, or even a monk, for example, where I would pray every single hour of the litany. And, obviously there's always a thought at the back of my mind. I'm always thinking, is marriage for me? Should I become a priest? Should I become a monk? An abbot, even? And it's that sort of sense that I feel in my life, and I've prayed about it many times, that I couldn't live my life without children. That it would ruin me if I was not able to be a father. And again, hang on, I'm gonna mute a WhatsApp group chat just because you guys are just gonna hear that ping, 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 ping. Let me mute it for 8 hours. Okay, great. And it's the same thing. We'll always have that sort of, I guess, feeling. At least I have that feeling that my life would be incomplete. Or I wouldn't say incomplete, but I feel that there'd be a massive empty gaping hole without children in my life. And that's what I feel my vocation is completely. And again, it's that level of uncertainty. You must have faith in Christ that the vocation that you're calling towards, or that you're going towards, is the right one. I mean, St. Paul even says, if a young couple cannot he obviously says that St. Paul, I can't remember which letter, again, I should really research this before I say it, but he basically says along the lines of, if a young couple cannot handle, or a young person cannot handle the temptations, it would ought to be better for them to get married. And marriage is, the greatest male saint to ever exist is Saint Joseph, and that was a marriage. That was a beautiful marriage between Saint Joseph and the Blessed Mother and Ever Virgin Mary. It was beautiful, absolutely beautiful. And marriage is this beautiful, beautiful thing that God calls us to do. I mean, we said in Genesis, you have it through all of the Bible, all the prophets, not all the prophets, but majority, like the main, I guess, sort of characters or individuals within the Bible were all married up to Christ, before Christ, up to Christ. Now, that's super important. Now, why do so many people reject getting married? Now, I think this is going to be probably a 30-minute video, so if you have a short attention span, I apologize. Well, I don't, but at the end of the day, it's what it is. Why do so many people reject marriage? Well, the fact is, it's difficult. Nobody wants to do difficult things anymore. Everybody wants the easy way. For example, you get married, you're with that one person forever. You're going to make love to that person forever. There is no one else. No one's going to join you. You're not going to go to somebody else. You're going to stay faithful to them forever. They might get pregnant. They might lose the body that they have. They might, get into an accident. They might be injured. They might not want sex all the time. And of course it's difficult. It's difficult because you're sort of, at least as men, we have this sort of primary urge to go and reproduce with as many women as possible to continue our lineage. And of course, one night stands are easier, right? You have sex, and that's that. You don't either don't see her ever again, or you have this sort of casual fling where you never really meet up and care outside of sexual relations. You guys meet, you have sex, and that's that. You don't do anything else. You don't have a family. You don't live together. You sort of just have sex and then leave. It's much easier. You don't have to deal with your consequences afterwards. You don't have to deal with caring for the other person. But at the end of the day, it's hard. Marriage is hard, and that's why so many people are rejecting it. The sexual revolution, which I find completely abhorrent, is another reason. Sort of this lie that women should be focusing on their careers rather than marriage and their family. I'm sorry, but the lie, that is one of the biggest lies ever told by society. That your career in HR is more important than your kids at home. The harsh reality is, the day you die, a new job post goes out for a new HR person or a new employee role. Do you know what doesn't go out in the same day? A new role for your mum. A new role for the mother, for the wife of a grieving family. Nobody cares, dude. I've seen it all the time. People get fired, next one comes in next day. They don't care. Guy had to leave work due to family problems. They don't care. Next. There's always somebody waiting at their door. It's not like that in marriage. It's not like that in a family. And this rejection that for women, it's been, don't worry about it. Focus on your career, because your career is definitely going to save you when you're 85 years old and you're in a hospital or in a retirement home with nobody to take care of you, and no one will ever come visit you, and no one's ever going to love you. But you know all those times in HR, listen, your boss doesn't care about you, and the money that you make isn't worth the amount of memories that you're wasting away not looking and loving your children. The company forgets, but your children will never forget, and neither will your husband. And that's why we've had this lie from society. So that's on the woman's side. Now, the male side, then I'll come together on what both rejections are. So the both rejections, really easy. It is a rejection of Christ. It is rejection of Christianity. And it is this rejection that, I can do everything myself. It's not a problem. I don't need marriage because I'm my own independent boss girl. And then when I'm 50 years old in a studio apartment with 15 cats and 500 plants, I'm sure I'll be happy. Do you know who I feel really sorry for? It's the women who are 50-ish plus and they're going through menopause. They have no husband. They have no kids. And it's this settling in doom that they will never have children ever again in their lives. It's gone. They can't have children anymore. That hurts me the most. That is who I weep for. I feel sorry for. Like, of course, yeah, let's say, for example, you get married, you have like 9 or 10 kids, or you have a bunch of kids, right? You get to menopause. At least you have the realization that you've had kids. At least, with all the pain and emotional struggle that you may have, you could look back and go, well, I had kids. These women, they don't have it. They don't have this sort of, thing to bounce back on. They've got nothing. And when they get older and more lonely, using alcohol, drugs, items, hooking up to fill this void in their hearts because they don't have Christ and they don't have children. That's important. So that's from women and from the both sides. It's rejection of God, rejection of the marriage. And it's such a good way for Satan to break up the family. Because if you look, really nice history lesson here. If you look at the 1930s, 1940s, where Hitler started rising to power, and then he became the Chancellor of Germany, of Weimar Germany, he knew that it was very difficult for the adults to convert and to believe the things that he believed. Because it's very, very difficult to influence an adult. Because we already have all the prepossessions in our mind. We already have made up our mind on so many things. It's like, for example, if you teach a kid how to cycle, he get it probably in 2 weeks. You teach an adult to cycle, probably take him 2 months. It's because we've already developed all these habits and these beliefs. But Hitler knew that if he was to target the children, not only would he indoctrinate the new generation, but he would also be able to influence the family. Because if the kids are unruly, the family dynamic is broken. If the allegiance of the kids is to the government, is to other people rather than their own family, it breaks the family dynamic, and it forces the parents to cave in to their beliefs. Nothing hurts more than the father or the child not respecting the father. Nothing hurts more than that. And at the end of the day, when the children break the family structure through indoctrination, Hitler knew that that is what the adults didn't have to believe it, but they just went, okay, fine, just to get the kids to try and respect and get the relationship back. And then the kids started snitching on all the parents, and then they were sent off into concentration camps. Anyway, this is important. Now, this idea, we have this red pill idea from the men. I already covered the red pill. I'm not going to go over it. But the core basics is women are taught that their career is more important than family. And men are taught not to do anything permanent and not to get into marriage because the grass is always greener on the other side. The truth is, the grass is only greener where you water it. If you stop watering your garden, the garden dies. And then, of course, your neighbour's garden looks far more enjoyable. So you jump the fence over, you take over the neighbour's garden. It's great for a couple of weeks, but you forget to water the garden. And then the garden dies. So then you jump over the next fence. Steal the next garden. Same thing. And then you look back and you have 3 dead gardens. And it's not because, oh, well, the neighbour's garden was broken, or the other neighbour's garden was broken, or yours was broken. It was that you didn't water the damn garden, and it's your fault. And men are taught that it's okay just to jump from garden to garden and not worry about it. That at the age of 60 or 70, because we can still have kids, although it's difficult, it's going to be okay anyway, and forget all the bimbos, just have loads of sex, and I promise your life will be full. It's the rejection of Christ that dives men into premarital sex, into this hookup culture, because we have this void that we want to fill, and that is done through marriage. You know the best thing in the world is going home to a family who loves you, hearing the words "daddy's home," and to a wife who's made you dinner and is smiling at your return from work. That enjoyment is what men need in life. You can't tell me otherwise. You can't tell me daddy's home is less fulfilling than hooking up with a bunch of bimbos at a club, or going and snorting cocaine and then hiring a prostitute. Really? Is that really fulfilling? And obviously women are told the same lie. I'll just have, loads of sex with a lot of men. I promise it won't affect you emotionally, fertility wise, and it definitely won't affect your chances for marriage. Just freeze your eggs. You can have them when you're 35 and don't worry about it. Oh yeah, we won't tell you that eggs die. Nor will we tell you at the age of 35 you lost most of your eggs anyway, so it's very difficult to have children. Anyway, I guess that's the aftermath of rejecting marriage. I go on to my 4th point, and I have a 5th point, and it's done. The aftermath of rejecting marriage. Well, what happens if you reject marriage? Let's say you're a man and you just constantly having... you constantly have hookups with girls. You always have girlfriends and you never get married. Well, number 1, you reject what God is calling you into your vocation. Number 2, you reject what has been the norm for 6,000 plus years. You also reject this idea that your life will be better alone. You reject the idea that your life will be better with somebody else, and you'd rather just do everything alone, because surely men can do it, man can do everything alone. They can't. And then what you see is you see men at the age of 60 still partying, still acting that bachelorette life or bachelor life, and they're always fulfilling their lives with something else. And a lot of the time it's addiction. A lot of the time it's alcohol abuse, because they fill the life in of not having a wife and kids. And men realize this when it's too late. And the harsh reality is when you're 60 or 70 years old, or even 40 and 50 years old, the dating market thins out very, very well. And very, very niche. It's very hard to find a traditional, nice, good Christian woman who's a virgin at the age of 50. So that's it for men. Men will live that life forever alone. And then when you're in a retirement home and there's no one to visit you, you'll realize that the time is up. So that's, again, super, super important. The aftermath of rejecting marriage for men. We live this empty, vocationless life, sort of going through the movements and the wind and hoping something comes out of it, but it never does. Now, the rejecting marriage for women is basically the same thing, but it's with a hint that it's the menopause that will get them. And again, at the end of the day, when it comes to the career, who is going to visit you when you're 75 years old? Is it your the 5 Gucci bags you bought, or is it going to be your grandkids or children? And you know what people will say? They'll go, and I say this for both men and women. Oh, well, Tim, isn't that selfish that you'll have kids and they will look after you and blah, blah, blah when you get old? Well, the harsh reality is, my dear friends, when you are old and senile and you can't walk properly anymore and your muscles and body doesn't move like it wants to anymore, maybe you require some sort of equipment, wheelchairs, whatever it may be, the nurses and doctors and caretakers that take care of you, they are only there for the money. They are there. They're not there 24/7. They have a family to go home to. They have friends to care about. They have their weekends off sometimes. They are there. They are there for an hourly and pay and a yearly pay. That is it. And they will go into work every single morning with a checklist ready to complete. Do you know who will stay with you forever? Do you know who will sleep on the floor with you and love you unconditionally? And they don't care what time it is. They don't have a family to go back to. They don't take the weekends off. They'll always be there for you no matter what. And you'll have that strong bond in your life. It's your wife or your husband, if you're a woman, and your kids and your grandkids, if you're lucky enough. Nobody else will care for you as much as your kids and family will. No amount of money is going to make me care so much. I still have to go home and go training. You could pay me £1,000 a day to lay tiles. I'd still go home to go train. I wouldn't sleep on the bathroom floor just to wake up the next morning and carry on laying tiles. I wouldn't do it. I'd still go home to see my family and have some food and go training. All I'm saying. So that's the rejection of marriage. You live this empty and sad life filled with this sort of impending sense of doom that you've missed out in life. And I mean, we see it all the time. How many crazy cat ladies do you know? How many guys do you see at the pub that are still drinking their life away and they're there every single day? And they all say the same thing. They all reject their lives. They all hate the lives that they had. Oh, my headphones aside, I forgot about this one. They all sort of have this life where they never went, and they always have this rejection. They're like, oh, well, I rejected it. And they live empty, and they'll always tell you, I wish I had kids. Unfortunately, the wish isn't there anymore. And it is too late. So my final point, as I wrap up this 30-minute plus video, is should you get married? Now, marriage is a permanent thing, gifted to us by God and cannot be broken. The Catholic Church affirms this, and divorce is this thing that is it doesn't exist in my books. I don't agree with it. Now, we have annulment, But annulment is very, very difficult. It's a long process, and the harsh reality is the majority of the cases get thrown out, and annulment is basically there saying that the marriage never existed in the first place. It is not a divorce which breaks the marriage conceal, this marriage contract, like ripping the contract in half. Now, should you get married is the real question. Well, I would like to ask you a few questions. When praying and when thinking about it, do you feel that the vocation of permanent chastity towards God, being a priest and a nun, is calling you more than marriage and children? If the answer is yes, go down to the nearest monastery, go down to your nearest church, and go sign up. Go be a priest, go be the nun, go be a sister, go be whatever the vocation is for calling you. And do it well, and do it with the love of the Lord. And it's a beautiful thing. I know people that do it, and it's beautiful. They have this love and joy for Christ so much more. And it's beautiful. But if you feel that marriage is calling you, that you'd be better off having children, you should get married. Getting married young and living a beautiful traditional life is rare in today's society. It is rare to get married young. It is rare to have children young. It is rare to have many children. And it's very rare to be religious. To actually be religious. Not go, I'm Christian, but... Yeah, I'm Christian, I don't go to church. Yeah, I'm Christian, but I do hardcore drugs. Yeah, I'm Christian, but I don't pray and read the Bible. It's very hard nowadays to be that. And very, very rare. I think that's the most beautiful thing about it. Is to be married young, if God allows it, to have children if God allows it, and to have a traditional life, a traditional marriage filled with love for one another. It won't be easy. Nothing good comes easy. And if it seems good on the surface, it's bad, and it's the devil that's tricking you. So, just some thoughts on that one. I think marriage is a beautiful thing. I want to get married. I absolutely want to get married. I'd like to get married young. If things work out well, it should happen. But again, marriage is an everlasting contract, an everlasting covenant. Just like Christ, who's the bride is the church, and the church is us. Marriage is a permanent thing between one man and one woman. Not two men, not two women, not a man and a woman, and a man and a woman, and a man and a woman. Not one man and 50 women. A man and a woman. Through death do us apart. No exceptions. Anyway, I hope you guys have enjoyed this. It's been great recording this. So, at the end of this, I already mentioned, but in August, I will be recording outdoor videos. So you will no longer have this in the background, hopefully. With higher quality thumbnails, try and capture more people. But until then, we'll keep this sort of structure. We have all the wires and the couch and this mirror thing and the sign and the British flag. But until then, I'm going to keep these consistent, and it's been an absolute pleasure. And again, if God is calling you towards marriage, run towards it. God bless you all. Have a fantastic weekend. Happy Sunday to those tomorrow. And if you're going to Mass, I will always be praying for you. And enjoy Mass. Go to confession. Ciao.